Hi, I'm Laura Sexauer from Spiritual Artistry in Motion, and this is Transformation Tuesday. The topic for today's video is forgiveness. Now, this is a really deep, heavy subject. So I would advise, if you're struggling with some forgiveness issues, to talk to a friend, a counselor, or a therapist. But the following are a few ideas about forgiveness that I have come across in my personal journey, and hopefully it's helpful for you too. And then I hit my elbow. But I can forgive myself. We all know what it's like to hold on to an anger or a resentment. Sometimes we feel it in our body, like we'll feel a heaviness in our chest, or our thoughts are going crazy. Maybe it's that circular thought pattern where you keep coming back to the same thought again and again, getting yourself angry and riled up. Or you might even feel something in the pit of your stomach. So what do we do about that? Well, there's that expression that holding a grudge against someone is like drinking poison and expecting them to die from it. And that is so true about holding on to something and not being able to find forgiveness. In so many cases, we keep punishing ourselves with those thoughts over and over and over again, and the person we're angry at does not even realize or know that, we're suffering. So it's not like we're harming them. We're harming ourselves when we hold on to this stuff. I remember when I really had a very strong resentment against someone several years ago, and my thought pattern was, I demand an apology from this person. If I do not get an apology, I'm not letting it go. And I held on to that feeling for a long time, maybe about a year. And then that kind of faded away into, okay, if I get an apology, that's good, but I'm not going to wait for it. But I feel I deserve it. And then as time went on, I started exploring, thoughts of compassion toward the person who had wronged me. I started exploring what are some reasons why people hurt other people. Because I feel like even in cases where there's bullying in school, anytime that someone lashes out or harms other people, there is some element of suffering in their own life. And so while the actions that they take against you are wrong and not acceptable, I started looking for a place of understanding where that person was when they harmed me, in order to cultivate a sense of compassion. So I started thinking, okay, sometimes people harm other people because they're suffering. Sometimes people harm other people because they're suffering from some disease, or because they weren't taught or educated about the tools in order to effectively communicate and operate in life. Sometimes we just aren't given the tools from our parents and our community that we need. We have to learn those on our own. That opened up the door for forgiveness for me. And it is a process. I feel like forgiveness is this spiral, and you feel like you've forgiven, and then you come back, maybe there's a thought or a word or something you see that reminds you, and then all of a sudden you're back in those emotions again. But what I'm realizing is that each time I find myself triggered into those feelings of unforgiveness, I realize that I'm seeing it from a new perspective. I realize that I'm feeling it from a new level of consciousness, and that it's much less severe than it was. So as I continue this process, I'm realizing that the more I continue to work, each time I come back to that, it's a little bit better, it's a little bit easier. So it really is a process. A big part of forgiveness for me is for me and not for the person. There are many cases where it is important for your safety and your peace of mind to completely disconnect from someone. So forgiving someone doesn't necessarily mean welcoming them back into your life. You do have to protect yourself and your family if there's an unsafe situation. So you can forgive someone and never see them again, because forgiving them, to me, in my experience, means releasing that anger and resentment so that I'm not suffering from their actions, and hoping for them that they find a relief from their suffering so that they don't continue to harm themselves and others. So like I said, the tool of imagining what kind of situation that person is in can help cultivate some sense of compassion. And then also, when you get to a place where you're feeling a little bit of compassion, really wishing well for them so that they can have their healing at the same time that you're having your healing. And if you're in a situation where you're not completely disconnecting from someone who's harmed you, the answer might be to set some boundaries, to set some firm and assertive boundaries. And I know that's a struggle for me. Like, boundaries are hard. I should probably make a video about that so I can work on that too. But setting those boundaries so that you can prevent situations where you might continue to feel those feelings of anger and resentment. So it's really a way of boosting your self-worth by setting a healthy boundary with someone. And that can also help that forgiveness process. It's a really, really deep, hard subject, forgiveness. Reach out to someone who you think might be able to help you, because we're really not meant to do this alone. This whole life thing, we're not isolated little beings, we're all connected. So if you feel that you need some help or someone to talk to or someone to get some guidance from, go out, find a counselor or a therapist or a friend. Seek the help that you need, because with the law of attraction, what we seek is seeking us. So go out and find the help that you need, and I hope that you find all the forgiveness in your heart. And remember, forgive yourself too. I'll see you next week.